Okay, do you want to make 2025 your creative year? The year you launch your business or start freelancing or level up as a designer or an artist or a creative professional? This is going to be your time, right? That is awesome. Let me save you a whole lot of time. Lately, I've been doing a whole lot of thinking about what I would do differently if I were just starting my business now. And I realized there are a few specific things that I just wish I could jump back in time and do better right from the jump. So today, I thought I would sit down, have my coffee, we can have a little chat, and I will go over these 6 things that I would do differently if I were starting in 2025. If we're just meeting, I'm Janelle. I've been a freelance graphic designer for 15 years now, and as evidenced by this video, I have made every possible mistake on my path to becoming a creative professional. I just want other people to get there a little bit faster and with a little bit less heartburn. So if you like that idea, hit the subscribe button because I'd love to hang out again. The first thing that I would do differently is to start with systems. And I get that is not necessarily a sexy topic, but here's the thing. When you're just getting started freelancing, it's probably a side gig that sort of starts slow and trickles in over time. You might not even be aware that you're necessarily in business. You just know you like some design stuff and you can do a project for a friend or something, and then it grows over time. Maybe you're in school or you have a full-time gig or just other focuses, and this is just something that you're doing gradually and you're not even necessarily in business. For me, the first few years of freelancing, I was really kind of cobbling things together and just kind of reacting job to job as things popped up without any kind of clear system or process or like structure in mind. I would just get an email one day about someone interested in a thing, and then I would respond. We'd go back and forth a whole bunch, and then maybe I would get them to sign a contract if I had one, and then they would mail me a check because I didn't have any way to get paid online, but they probably wouldn't actually pay me until I'd already started the project because we kind of had like a handshake agreement, and then I'd make a bunch of things and we'd go round and round, and then eventually I would end up with stuff and I would like email them files. And mind you, this was back in the Stone Age, so we didn't even have like Zoom meetings, and the idea of having like a Dropbox folder I could send someone didn't really exist. It wasn't something I gave a lot of thought to, but if I had, I would have realized that I was spending a lot of emotional and mental energy every time needing to think through, okay, I have this client who's interested, what do I do? How do I get them through this process? And I was sort of reinventing the wheel every time. And this was me as a freelance designer, but it would have been true if I were a photographer or a copywriter or any kind of person who's making a service for someone. If there's one thing I can suggest to anyone, it's that right from the start, think about your process. It doesn't have to be complicated, but the more you can have a clear path that someone goes through every time they work with you, the less emotional and mental space you're using every single time, and the more professional you'll feel. The less time every job takes, the less back and forth you have with clients, the fewer revisions you have. It really trickles down into every single aspect of the thing. This is the kind of unglamorous stuff that tends to get pushed to the side because it's not like a paying project, right? But think about it. If you have an email that you send when someone reaches out to you, and you sent it to one client, if you were to take just a second and take that email that you wrote and put it into whatever note-taking app you use, I use Notion, and save that as a template, then the next time someone writes you, you can copy and paste that with a little tweaking, and you've just saved a bunch of bandwidth. That's an email script. You can make 10 email scripts, and you never have to think about what you need to write every time you write a client. And that is the beauty of systems. Start building a set of documents that you send all the way through the process. If you see questions that pop up over and over again, build out an FAQ that you give someone. If you have a particularly frustrating situation that happens, which it will, take a second to ask, okay, if I were to put a provision in my contract that would clear that up, what would it be? How can I make the next project a little bit smoother than the last one? Those are systems. Don't waste any of your good learning right from the get-go. This is why I sometimes recommend that people work for free when they're getting started, because it can be really useful to have a live guinea pig to take through your process and figure out what system you need to have. I did a whole video on that a while ago, breaking down when you should work for free and how you can do it in a way that's genuinely useful to you to get some of this stuff in place. So my advice to you would be, take 10 minutes and do a bit of an audit. What systems do you currently have, or lack thereof? What legal stuff do you have in place? Where do you keep all of your documents? What files do you give someone as sort of a project pipeline? If you took a few hours, is there anything that you could upgrade that would genuinely save you time in the future? This is really good stuff that's worth spending time on. The next thing I would tell baby Janelle is to focus my energy on blue ocean skills. What I mean by that is that I think the hardest thing right when you're starting is that it can feel like there are a million people out there all doing the same general kind of thing that you want to do, only they've been doing it longer and better and faster and all the things, right? It can feel really daunting, feeling like you're just one drop in the bucket of all these people having the same kind of creative ambitions, right? I wish I had spent more time up front, really taking stock about what I specifically love and the things that I am uniquely good at, and then crafting the rest of my offerings around those things. The book Blue Ocean Strategy popularized this idea of the red ocean and the blue ocean. The red ocean is any space where there's a lot of similar competition and it feels like there's a lot of people swirling around fighting for the same clients and duking out for the same space in this area, right? A blue ocean is any area where there really isn't a lot of competition and you don't really need to fight for space. A blue ocean skill is anything where the demand is greater than the supply. You have something specific that you're offering, so the people who are looking for that specific thing kind of want to come to you because there's not a lot of people offering that thing. Often that's because you've put together a set of things that doesn't really exist before, so you're kind of creating your own space. When people talk about how you need to niche, that's really what they're talking about. The more you can understand a specific set of people, and if you really know them, you can identify what their actual problem areas and needs are, you can create a set of services that really speak to them uniquely. And now this can look like a lot of things. It could be that you live in a certain geographic location, and so you're offering services to local businesses, and they would be more apt to work with you because you understand their local area in a way that someone from like San Francisco wouldn't. It could be that you have a specific interest or hobby or group of people that you identify with, and so you know what their needs are because you are one of them. The more you know a particular group of people, the more you can identify what their actual pain points are and create something that feels unique to them. That's niching. The other way to play in the blue ocean is to create a more extended set of services that are a little bit beyond what most people offer in your space, or to work with other creatives in kind of adjacent fields so you can put together a package of things that are more unique. So maybe you're a copywriter, but you work with an SEO expert to create a web package that combines a lot of the things that small businesses need in one place. That's playing in the blue ocean. Especially in the year of our Lord 2025, the more that you can invest in building skills that are harder to replicate, harder to Google, and harder for AI to replicate, the more you're positioning yourself as someone who's a real expert in a specific field, the more high value you become. And this doesn't mean you have to become an alien person. Identify the things that you enjoy learning about anyway, the skill sets and the things that kind of come naturally to you, and then build around that. Over the years, I realized that I'm kind of a huge nerd, and I love to research more than most humans. I love to create systems. I love to organize files. But that's kind of a unique superpower of mine. It took me a long time to realize that that was a skill set that I could put together as an asset for my design client. Eventually, I found Notion and I fell in love. I got super nerdily into it. I watched every tutorial and video and read every article I could possibly learn to figure out the ins and outs of this program. And I spent literally months building out this perfect system for myself, for my work and my life. All the things that I wanted in one place. I was doing it in my free time because I genuinely enjoyed it. And because I was genuinely passionate about it, I just kind of started spreading the gospel about this thing that I had found to friends and family members and past clients and all of these people. And over time, I started getting people being like, hey, that thing you have, can I have one? I want that system. I had past clients write me up to say, hey, can you build out this system for my business? I had friends of friends randomly emailing me because they had heard about this thing that they needed help with, and I could help them figure it out. And that is the way you stumble into the blue ocean. Any space where you can identify something you genuinely enjoy doing and then build it out into something you can offer is kind of the ticket. So these days, I still primarily do identity branding, but I offer a service to the clients that work with me that I will also help them create informational systems to do their back end. Because if you are a new business that is creating a brand, you're probably also needing to create that back end structure. So anytime that you can ask yourself, what is another need the same person I'm working with also needs, that expands what you can offer in a way that is really unique to you. So take stock of what you are interested in. What communities are you a part of? What comes naturally to you? What do you spend your free time doing? Jessica H has this great quote that the things that you do when you procrastinate are the things that you should be doing all the time. How can you take those things and craft them into a professional offering? I wish I had done that years sooner. The third thing is something that took me just way too long to get okay with, and that is to ask for referrals. I can't be the only person in the world who likes to make pretty things, but hates to promote those pretty things. And especially when I was 22 and getting started, the thought of talking to people about my services or trying to pitch myself was actual agony. Right around then, I had a conversation with a friend who had just decided one day that he wanted to become a photographer. It wasn't what he went to school for or had any background in. He just decided he was doing a pivot and he was going to be a wedding and portrait photographer. Cool. So I asked him, okay, what's your next step? What are you going to work on? And I was thinking he was going to come back with, well, I'm going to invest in a new camera set, or I'm going to take some lessons or intern with a photographer so I can gain experience or something. And instead, he looked me dead in the eye and said, I'm going to tell every damn person I know that I want to do their wedding and I'm willing to travel. I was completely flabbergasted. The thought of just spamming all the people in my life with this new thing, especially when I was just getting started, was like the most crazy thing I had ever heard. The thing is, he did it. He put his rates really low for the first few people. He got a couple of friends and family who were willing to take a chance on him. He built up his reputation over time. He learned on the job. And 15 years later, he has a really impressive career as a wedding photographer. The thing is, I would never have done that. And I really wish I could slap young Janelle in the face and say, get over it. So please, if you're making art or a craft or a service that you're providing, take a deep breath and actually tell the people in your life about it. People who want to support you are going to be your first starting point. And this doesn't actually have to be that scary. What you can do is say, hey, I'm starting this service. Do you know of anyone who might be interested in this specific thing? They can opt in or recommend someone, and most people are actually thrilled to at least pass your name on. And if nothing else, when you do work with someone, at the end of the project, have a really, really easy way for them to refer you on to someone else. It can genuinely make a big difference. Okay, I'm going to level with you. The next one is actually me just talking to myself because I'm still not doing it well. And that is to make peace with social media in a way that actually works for you. I am one of those ancient millennials who just cannot come to terms with social media for my business in a way that doesn't feel like giving up my soul. And that's something that I dug my heels on for a decade. I wish I could go back in time and tell myself to try to find a happy medium somewhere between socially based influencer and complete Luddite. Because I really think there has to be somewhere in the spectrum that actually represents your business and who you are in a way that feels sane and like a part of your life without completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater. The best advice that I think is true here is to find one platform that you genuinely enjoy and want to dive into, which is why I'm doing this YouTube thing. And then everywhere else becomes like a good digital calling card that people can find you to direct to the thing you actually want to spend your attention on. But the idea of creating a digital ecosystem, so you have a website that lands everyone to, and you really develop a mailing list and a newsletter and ways that people can kind of get into your orbit, creating a digital download or a freebie that genuinely helps people. Anything you can do to start actually building a database of people means you don't waste all of the goodwill and interest when people pop up. Over the years, I had a ton of leads and contacts and interest from people or past clients or things that I didn't have a good way for them to continue to interact with me. I didn't have a way to capture those names into a mailing list because I'd never set up a mailing list. I could have made a freebie or a digital download that would genuinely help people as a way to kind of build out an ecosystem that pulls people into an orbit. So at least then I'm able to stay in touch. And I wish I had done that a lot sooner. So learn from your Auntie Janelle and put those things in place so that even as you're building and you're developing, you're not wasting all of that goodwill as you start creating a community. Give them somewhere to go. Make social media useful to you in a way that you'll actually maintain. Stay tuned for this because I'm going to spend some time this year figuring this stuff out for myself and I'll bring you along. So if you hate this thing too, we can do it together. All right, the next one is to not ignore the icky, scary financial stuff. I think this is the thing that probably keeps most people from wanting to go into a business for themselves at all, but really, it does not have to be as scary as it feels. I spent years without even setting up a business bank account for myself. So I would have all of my expenses and my income all mixed in with my personal stuff. And then every year when I would do my taxes, I have to sit through and figure out, okay, was that ink for my home printer or for my studio printer? What things was I actually doing for the business? It was a mess. These days, there are actually some really nice bookkeeping softwares that make it really easy for creatives to just keep track of the things that they do. It doesn't have to be complicated. And if you can, get yourself a business credit card as quickly as possible so that the things that you're already having to spend money on, things like website subscriptions and Adobe Cloud and all that stuff, you're at least getting points on. Don't go crazy into debt, but you should at least have a way so the things you're already spending money on become at least useful to you. I wish I had done that a long time ago. Learn as much as you need about taxes and bookkeeping so that you at least feel competent and not like you're at the mercy of someone else. But you can get help. There are companies whose whole point is to help creatives incorporate their businesses into LLCs. They'll do all the work for you. There are bookkeepers and CPAs and legal attorneys who specifically focus on creative small businesses, and they understand the things that you need. People want to help you, and you can get help. This doesn't have to be scary, but the more you spend even a few hours getting basic contracts in place and setting up a bank account, the more you'll have, again, structure so that you don't have to spend all your time thinking about this stuff. You can do it, and the better you do it now, the more you'll be grateful later. Trust me. The last thing I would tell baby Janelle is to document everything. And this kind of breaks down into 4 different categories. 1, record your process. Take screenshots of your messy workspace. Record a Loom video as you're working so that you can speed it up and you have this behind the scenes video you can use for content. Anything you can do to actually record the process of making things, save your old work that you did in school or your first drafts of projects that didn't actually get off the ground. Any kind of that stuff might seem like it's not particularly useful or it's kind of junk, but you never know when you want to be able to look back or when you might use something in the future. Tuck all those things into an archive, stick it on the cloud, but save everything you can so you can document how you got from where you are to where you're going. On the other end of the spectrum, record your business as it develops. Take photos of receipts so that later on you actually have the receipt when you bought the thing and you don't have to go retrace your steps. Keep a running list of expenses or business subscriptions so that you can actually track how much you're spending on your business every month. These can be really simple things, but the more you get into the habit of recording your work, the less backtracking you're going to have to do later. The other kind of documenting is to record your thought process. Have one central place where all of your note-taking, all of your brain dumps, all of your ideation goes. Keep everything in one spot so that a year and a half from now, if you're needing to research the same kind of thing, you can find your notes from when you found a whole bunch of URLs and you don't have to retrace your steps. Save your research. You never know when you're going to need it. If you have one place that you can trust all of your thoughts go to, you don't have to think about this again. The last kind of documenting I wish I had done better is to record your wins. Sometimes it gets really easy to forget how far you've come, or just that good things have happened. Have a place where you keep reviews when you work with a client. Have a place where you keep just like nice comments that people have said about your work. Genuinely, there are going to be low days that you're going to look back and remember that people like what you do. Record victories, things that you won, things that you did, things that went well. Just keep a little note so in the future you can actually look back and see not just the frustrating moments that stay at the top of your mind, but also how far you've come. Someday you're going to want to remember that good things have happened and you've done well, and it's worth recording that. So even if one little bit of that has stuck, I hope that it is in some way helpful as you're launching the thing you're doing. You might want to check this video out where I go over 10 things that I wish someone had told me right when I started freelancing. It's a similar vein, but there's some slightly different stuff in there. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you next time.